Now, the LGBTQ community tonight celebrating a victory as the Biden administration lifts the military ban on transgender troops. The ban ordered by former President Trump. The order also bans any service member from being forced out of the military on the basis of gender identity. Christian Fuscarino, Executive Director at Garden State Equality, joining us now with what this victory means. Christian, first of all, thanks for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Talk about the message this sends, considering that President Biden has done this really in what is the infancy of his administration.
Well, there are thousands of patriotic transgender Americans currently serving in our military. What this ban essentially did was prevent transgender individuals from joining the military. So what this does, President Biden has done here is ensured that if transgender people are willing to sign up and serve our nation, they will be able to, and it ensures that the transgender Americans who are currently serving in our military are able to do so with a burden lifted from their shoulders. I can speak from personal experience with my husband serving in the United States Marine Corps that there was a lot of pressure that was put on active duty troops when this ban went into effect. There was a lot of uncertainty about who was going to be next on the cutting block. And so this step yesterday by President Biden was an important one as we move forward.
Christian, before he was elected, then candidate Trump back in 2016 said that he was a real friend of the LGBTQ community. Looking back on the past 4 years, were there any examples of where he was?
There are few and far examples of him standing with the LGBTQ community. In fact, he never stood with the transgender community. He instituted a lot of different policies that were against the transgender community, from healthcare to housing to schooling, and as we are talking about tonight, in the military. He essentially wrote discrimination into laws throughout our country. And did a disservice after 8 years of the Obama administration, where President Obama really pushed equality forward for the LGBTQ community.
One of President Biden's first actions, really on day one, was to issue this sweeping executive order making it clear that gay and transgender people are protected against discrimination in schools, healthcare settings, workplace. But there was an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal recently titled "Joe Biden's First Day Began the End of Girls' Sports." And that, of course, refers to a fight in states like Connecticut against allowing transgender students to compete based on their gender identity. How do you see this playing out in the weeks and months to come?
Well, that's a false narrative. If a transgender child, a transgender girl wants to participate in a girl's sport, that is a girl participating in a girl's sport, period. There's really no further conversation to that. And I know that's a narrative that is often pushed by folks who are transphobic, but the reality is, trans women are women, trans men are men, and the conversation stops there.
Biden administration also tapped Pennsylvania Health Commissioner Rachel Levine to serve as Assistant Secretary for Health, and she would be the first openly transgender federal official to be confirmed by the Senate. What's the shattered glass ceiling in this situation mean for others here? Because there really are just a handful of openly transgender government officials in the entire country.
Right. We're seeing within the course of a few days of the Biden administration being in office, LGBTQ community being a top priority. We're also seeing representation across his senior cabinet and throughout all other levels of government. This is an important step forward. Here in New Jersey, the Governor Murphy has worked hard to ensure that there's representation in his cabinet and in state government. As we know, there are no openly LGBTQ elected officials in New Jersey's legislature. A state that's positioned between Philadelphia and New York City, you would expect that there would be representation, but there is not. And so any moment that there is an opportunity to bring representation to the government, whether at the federal level or at the state level, is an important step forward.
Christian, how big of a step do you think this first week in office for President Biden is toward true equality for the community?
It is a breath of fresh air. After 4 years of living in fear of what Donald Trump was going to tweet next, we can now wake up every day knowing that there is a president in office who is going to be looking out for the best interests of the LGBTQ community, but not only moving equality forward making sure that all the policies that were put into place, and there are hundreds of anti-LGBTQ policies that President Trump put into place, that they will all be reversed because there are competent people in those roles who are looking out for the best interest of the LGBTQ community and really just human beings generally, looking out for the best interest of all human beings, regardless of who they love or how they identify.
Christian Fuscarino, Executive Director at Garden State Equality. Christian, thank you for your time again. Good to see you.
Thank you.